Welcome to Not Another HR podcast.
You're joking. Not another one?
Hello and welcome to the Not Another HR podcast with me, Alastair Swindlehurst, and
Rachel Rigg from Horsfield Menzies. Alastair's your HR consultant. I'm an employment solicitor, and together we just witter on about things.
We do. And usual disclaimer, this is not legal advice. If you need proper legal advice, go and see a proper legal person, which is generally you, to be fair. But it's more about just making sure that we're going to discuss what's going on, to give you context, bring it to life, and then hopefully you can sort of be a bit more sort of enabled in terms of dealing with what you need to deal with.
And as you can probably tell, it's the heat wave, which is why the legs are out, which is also my prompt to say everything we're discussing today is based on today. And if you are listening to this podcast in the distant future, it might not be relevant anymore.
No, and I think we will be, we'll be getting this out sort of the early part of next week. Probably it's Thursday as we're recording now, as we hit 35, but I think the rain's going to come.
Oh, thank God. This is not weather for gingers. This is not weather for gingers. Look out for your gingers.
I was going to say, forget menopause as a protective characteristic.
Yeah,
it's kind of
redheads.
Gingers.
What are you doing? I mean, it doesn't get us there, but anyway.
I was going to say, and hopefully we've sorted the saturation on the camera as well.
Ah, thanks, because normally I'm glowing like the palest person on the earth, and that's not inaccurate most of the time.
No, but it's probably mean of me to do that, to be fair.
Yeah, I'll take it as bullying. It's all good.
Absolutely.
I mean, one of the things, that's probably going to come up in a little bit of this, is we're going to be talking about in this week's episode, tech pitfalls businesses, HR folk are falling into.
Yes.
Because we're seeing quite a lot of this at the minute.
I think it's becoming more and more prevalent at the moment. Like, the more that we talk to people, the more that things are coming out. So, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen some suggestions of people where it's the use of tech. It's maybe our third parties getting onto machines as well to either do or assist with people's jobs who maybe shouldn't be there as well.
Surprise, surprise.
I forgot to mention that one too.
Oh, we can add it to the list. It's all good.
We've got plenty.
We'll add it to the list. But yeah, so basically, Alastair and I are seeing so many things to this effect that we thought it'd just be really helpful to run through some of the anecdotes, some of the stories that are coming through in the news. But there's I'd say, 4 main headers that we've got to cover. And the first one is pretty much what you were just saying. It's using tools before you have the controls in place to manage those tools.
But I think there's still an after effect of the work from home movements for sort of post-COVID, during COVID, where we saw everyone sort of dashed to get out of the office. No one really got a proper home set up.
No.
And it was just crack on, do what you need to. From then, we've then got this whole blended workplace that we have, and there's a lot of people that work from home. I know people that will work from an office some days, but then they'll also work maybe from a co-working space another day. And it's really interesting in terms of I think the big thing is just how relaxed people are about data at the minute, and how they allow other people to have access to the data. And that's everything from sign up to newsletters and who you give your data to on a personal level, right through to this is your company's data, and we'll put it into different places and see what happens on the back of that.
Well, this is the wild thing, right? So for years, people have used things like Grammarly and things like that to help check how they were, writing things in structure, not realising that the information they were putting into Grammarly wasn't particularly secure, wasn't particularly, basically all of these tools that are now existing, people are using just as to assist you, but not thinking about what they're putting in and where it goes.
No, and I think the thing is that I don't think there's the forethought to go with it, which is, I'm not sure forethought's a word, but
no one's thought about it. It's just it's like Google. You just Google what you want, and it's okay, but that thing you're checking your grammar for, how sensitive is it?
but I think it's that element of that sense of losing control of the data. It's the once it's out there. I think the other side of it as well is, and we've seen a little bit of it, is as people. It's the influencer side of things. So again, when you're in the workplace, it's a lot of people do encourage the TikToks, and it's the social media side of stuff. But actually, if you do it, what information are you giving to people when you do this as well? And it's what are you revealing about yourself? So indirectly as well.
Totally. The more I use ChatGPT, and it's one of those things where you don't realise how much it's absorbed about you until I literally managed to ask it the other day. If I was a dog, what dog would I be? And it was like, well, basically, here's all this information that I remember about you, and this is why I think you're a greyhound. And I was like, okay, sure.
But I think that's the thing with it, is that when people use the ChatGPT tools, and I think there's two parts to this. One is that you just use it, so it's a plug and play system.
Yeah.
So you just start to dump data.
It exists. You can just get to it without any sort of difficulty whatsoever.
Yeah.
Free and available.
And no, I'd say this is the why businesses are creating closed networks for themselves, because then the data doesn't go anywhere. And people don't close the network when they start to use sort of an OpenAI or a Claude or a Grok or whatever you use.
Yeah.
I think the other part of it is also the rise of sort of, it feels like it always comes back to grievance letters and the use of AI and the use of AI as your sort of legal professional in the space, where people will say, you know what, they'll type in the scenario they're having at work. Now, the scenario is generally very business centric. You can identify the situation. There's probably commercial information going in there.
Yeah.
If you've not clicked that to say, actually, I'm going to close a network in what you do, you are at that point
feeding the machine. You're
feeding the machine, but you're also then releasing commercially sensitive
100%.
data. So if we then go back to your contract of employment without saying Toodle, you're then in breach of it, because it's an unapproved release of commercial information.
But also, once confidential information is in the public domain, it loses its confidentiality. And so that's a breach in that person putting it on. But someone else later that you're going to try and say, no, you can't do that, that's confidential, you can't use that information in that way. If it's available on open source, it's not confidential anymore.
And I think it's the tools that are the interesting bit, because it's interesting, but everything's interesting at the minute, because it's just there's so much change, you know.
Yeah.
It's not interesting for everybody, but it's what you do with that. And I think if you look at the other part of this also as well that we're not talking about is recording of meetings. And I've never seen, so we're talking to people at the minute. They, as a tool to support people with like ADHD, they're saying we're just going to record meetings. And I'm just like, ooh.
You are collecting so much information you did not need.
Yeah, and they just want, one person wants to put an opt-in for all data just to be collected in, or meetings to be recorded.
Yeah.
So we're sort of saying, I was like, my tongue got too big for my head when I got told it. I think it was the stress. But what we've said is that actually, rather than doing that, let's try and carve it out a slightly different way. So let's kind of say there's the general meetings piece.
Yeah.
Which, absolutely record those. I think you've got to take a view on the commercial, on anything that's commercially sensitive. And then there's the bit where there's the personal meetings. So if we're looking at PIPs, if we're looking at absence reviews, things like this. Because again, it's where is this going to? Because people are just grabbing sort of Firefly, Otter, Microsoft Teams.
And no one's checked it. No one's necessarily thinking about where it goes.
But the thing is, and we see this as, well, we'll kind of get into stuff with clients and we'll get sort of videos and transcripts from Teams. But Teams can't even be great at times, because again, we've had stuff through where we can see other things that have been referenced, because the AI is going against the wrong data.
Yeah.
So again, people are using getting transcripts from Teams, not even checking it as well.
Yeah. And then using that as your basis that you run from, not knowing that you have, the summary you've taken or the instruction you've taken isn't actually what was discussed. And so there's a few things that kind of come to this. So using tools before controls are in place. One is the issue of data security, right? What are you putting on it, and where does it go, and how safe is it? And that's something that needs to be checked. And it might be one of those things, however boring it is, that employers lock abilities to get onto things like ChatGPT from internet, firewalls, etc., so that it's just something people can't do, and they only go through authorised channels, right?
You've got to have your approved channels.
Approved channels that are closed, and you understand that information is not then going into the ether, or that people have a real understanding about what they can put on it.
Well, I think that's the other bit. It's educating about what you can put in the system.
Yeah.
Because again, you can, if you're trying to create a document, you can take things to a certain point. Yeah. But you kind of go, this section here, we absolutely can't put on a public forum.
Yeah.
So, and people aren't talking to people about.
And a policy's not going to be enough.
No, not in the slightest. And it's as soon as, if your data kind of gets out there, and it can be out there from everything that's going on, you need to be there. I think the other bit is also about we've got to get back into the form of consent on data, because again, that's ebbed away, and again, that's probably a post-2020 issue that we've really seen. We've seen that more and more with kind of going, well, we're all seeing it, well, because we do less physical meetings these days. It's just like, oh, just record the meeting.
That's fine. It's happened. It's already happening. What are you going to do about it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like we were on a call the other day, and we kind of, someone asked for it to be recorded, and we said no. You know what I mean? We don't want it to be recorded.
No.
And you could see people around the table like going, oh my god. You know what I mean?
Shooketh.
All right.
But this is it. So look, data security. One of the things we were talking about, when you're thinking about how you use it, where does it go, what can people put on it? Would you encourage people to have in their disciplinary policy that you can't be using outside, large language models for confidential information, internal, that kind of grievance piece about other people, what's going on in the workplace?
So I think you need to put largely, anything that you're using needs to be proved. It needs to be on kind of your kind of like white list of what you've got. I think you need to make sure that people aren't recording things covertly as well. Like more and more, like you can sort of see people, like you see phones just kind of dropped into the middle of a table. I'm just going to leave this here. Yeah, and it's like we're doing a disciplinary, we're going to do an investigation with someone, and we're going to ask that person to demonstrate the room by themselves at that point. But again, where you think that's appropriate, and again, because I've certainly been in disciplinaries where you can hear you've been told no one's there. And it's like, who is coughing? It literally is. There was a heavily accented voice to the side, which was not the person that we were chatting to, because they didn't have a heavy accent. Oh my god! But this is it. So there's a degree of control you need. Yes, and I think but it's also setting up the terms in terms of like how you're going to manage remote meetings. It's kind of how you engage access. The other bit is actually how you flag breaches, or if you think you've created a breach as well.
Yeah,
again, we don't. I'd say certain people within organisations are really good at seeing breaches. Yeah. As well, others aren't, and I think there's a lot of data that passes through. Yeah. I think, but this is the whole education piece about taking a step back and going, these tools are great and they are good and they can really help you and they can make you a hell of a lot more efficient. Yeah. There's two sides. It's about kind of getting the approval internally. The other thing as well, and we've seen with some marketing and media elements of what we do, is about the use of AI and sort of the Think a Banana one. So you can generate your own AI images and videos. Right, yeah, of course. We've got people in the creative arts that are using some of that AI. But again, if you're, as part of your social media strategy, if you're using AI images, using people within that, have you got their approval? Have you got their consent? Yeah. Because again, if you say it was AI and get someone to do something they weren't particularly happy. Well, this is it. Yeah. It's a whole can of worms, isn't it? It's a complete sort of, I was going to use a really inappropriate word then, but it's an absolute matrix of pitfalls. But one of the other things is retention. So one of the best strategies you can have, because everything you put into your closed AI as well, or how you use your computer at work, processing personal data, is all responsive under disclosure for a tribunal or subject to access requests. And so one of the best things you can do is just have a 24-hour deletion policy that you do not hold on to what goes in or out of AI in your business. Because, imagine the situation of a manager saying, oh, I'm having a really hard time with person, I've said this, they've said that, what do I do, etc. You don't really want that to be something that you are holding on to for years and years and years. And that's the problem is that the systems like sort of Claude and OpenAI do hold on to the data. The other thing as well is that we're seeing more and more is that people are saying, I've taken our business plan and what I've tried to do is try and interrogate it by kind of put some scenarios and questions through it, and then it's just become this whole kind of mess of dung at this moment in time, and it's tricky because people want to be as intelligent as quickly as possible, but it's just not. You can't do it. We're running before we're walking a lot of the time. Yes, and the thing is, I would say, don't not use it. Yeah, absolutely, still use it. Just think about how it's being used. Yeah, and it's simple things as be intentional about how you're using it. have your whitelist. It's the putting a plan together to educate people to sort of say that. It's in the same way if someone thinks they've breached the data, it's having a cooling off period to begin with.
Yeah.
So actually, if someone self-reports within sort of 48 hours to say, you know what, I've used so and so, and I've realised I put the data on there, and it's and it's potentially accessible, you can at least then try and do something about it that way. And I think it's extending kind of being very, very clear about kind of what isn't acceptable.
Yes.
Which we're not very good at.
No, and to be fair, it's one of those things that you kind of find out what's not acceptable because it happens rather than because AI can be used in so many ways. No one can sit down and anticipate all the potential misuses, but you just have to be as clear as possible about. It's like any disciplinary policy or any sort of policy where it's like, this list is not exhaustive, but here are some examples so you can see what we're bothered about.
And I think if you just take sort of new assets or kind of new systems just generally, the really good businesses we work with are really open to new systems, but there's an onboarding process to it.
This is it. So open to, don't shut it down, but like bring it on. We don't want people being like, oh, I'm not using that. Yeah,
because the moment that you make it sort of this thing that you can't use, it becomes this covert thing. So it's actually...
And it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah. And the thing is, the amount of times that people will, and we'll see it, it's like we see it more in FS, but like where people will say you can't email your own personal email address and you can't use, say, OpenAI.
Yeah.
So what we have seen is people kind of emailing all their personal details.
Yeah.
You'll shut down OpenAI in the workplace. So all they'll do is that they'll email their personal email address and they'll bang it through a personal kind of OpenAI.
And you're just perpetuating it.
And that's one. If you shut down too many options, and it's a tool that people need to use,
you are forcing it through that way.
Yeah. And that's the bit where the world is changing. You've got to sort of hop on the bus because it's going to go with or without you.
So one of the other things I wanted to talk about was automated decision making. So if you're in tribunal and a judge says to you, go on, why did you dismiss that person? What was in your mind? And you went, well, ChatGPT said...
Yes.
Then it's just got no credibility at all. So managers using it to make decisions has two issues for me. One of which is there's no ownership then of that call. But the other one is, okay, there are actual specific provisions under GDPR about if your data is used, personal data is used in automated decision making, you have rights for some human oversight, etc. And so you might be falling foul of data protection law.
Yes, and the thing is that sort of AI-led decision making needs a sophisticated solution for what it is.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge that we're seeing is the people that are using it for that decision making are not using sophisticated structures.
It's all in the prompt.
And it's so again, it's not being against it, but if you're going to use it properly.
Yeah.
And it's if you ask, there is what we're seeing or what I'm seeing reported is that there is internal bias within systems. The problem is always kind of with a human input on these things is that the biggest error is always in sort of human error. Yeah. Because, somebody's described as a picnic, it's a problem in chair, not in computer, which I always thought was like, yeah. And with that is that we are more likely to make mistakes. I think a lot of the people that lean on this is more through laziness rather than through a desire to be underhand, and they don't realise the position they're putting themselves in.
That's exactly it.
As they do it.
No one's going out of their way to be like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm just going to outsource.
But I think it's this. But we see it more from I want to be a recruiter, so what I'll do is I'll just harvest as many CVs as I can.
Great.
Farm them off.
And it's like, that's probably been a bit unfair, but it's like we'll get as many CVs as we can. We'll kind of give them sort of our search criteria, but again, you're looking for the CVs to be the right thing as well.
Yeah.
And are you looking for the right data within that?
Totally.
Because at the minute it's just, I think because, and it also this steps back to this other bit, is because we're losing that control, or we're not putting the control measures in, it becomes messier and messier and messier and messier.
It does. It absolutely does. So the other thing is employees and how they're using it. yes, grievances, yes, other things like that, but also predominantly asking even closed authorised platforms, I've got this weird lump. What do I do about it? Or, my leg hurts. What should, and as a result, people are collecting all of this health information that they didn't know.
Well, the other thing as well is, because it comes from managers, because we get a lot of managers that they don't have huge teams.
Yeah.
So actually they feel quite concerned about understanding the situation properly.
Yeah.
So again, they'll get part of the information to try and understand someone's position.
And try and fill the gap.
And but again, this is the thing where I think people again will often forget about actually medical data is the most privileged information that you can have about an individual.
Yeah.
And it's something that people will just always go, you know what, it's fine. You know what I mean?
And it's like, no, we have to meet specific criteria to process this special category data. We also, one of the things people really forget about is data protection impact assessments. So basically, when you're bringing something like this in, think about what's the high risk here. Is it... We just had a small spider emergency, and actually what I forgot to say is we've got the amazing Maisie here with us on Work Experience who just dealt with that like a champ. So we've had to have a small break while Alastair smushed a spider. So
I was going to say, yeah,
but no,
it deserved it.
So, special category data, what people forget to do is do data protection impact assessments, think about the tools, think about how they're going to be used, and inadvertently what it might pick up. And then you can think about what you do to mitigate that. So retention periods is one of the key ones. If you don't hold on to it, you're minimising the impact of having processed that data.
And I think there's going to be a sea change in terms of attitudes to things. So again, we probably see when we're speaking to people like the area that they're least interested in.
Yeah.
Beyond sort of HR and employment law is data.
Yeah. What do you mean? We love data. I'm totally with you. And it's really difficult to comply with data protection law as it currently exists.
But I was with a session with like a Big Four consultancy, and they kind of, we were chatting about, because one of the things that people come to us and say, so with our standard policies, can we just repurpose like the employee one for kind of the company data one? And I'm like, no, you've got to do it correct. Make sure you get this right, especially if you're a B2C and you're kind of getting people's personal details.
Yeah.
I thought I was in a room with a guy, and the firm should remain nameless, but this guy was like, oh yeah, just go to someone else's website and just copy and paste theirs. And I sat there with my head in my hands, just like going like, oh my god.
I know.
That's mental.
It's really hard, and that's the thing that's forward facing, so everyone's going to see that.
Yeah, and it's like, but for me, that's the thing, is that you've got someone who should be as a larger firm, they should be taking it more seriously. Well,
did you see the WhatsApp decision? I wasn't really planning to talk about this today, but when WhatsApp got fined for not having a really good privacy policy in place, they fined something like 225 million euros in breach. And so if you're a big company, I mean, like your average Easy HR is probably not going to be on the list for such a huge fine. No offence. But it's going to be one of those, or, where it's that case where it's a big example, especially a data-led business, you're not going to get that benefit of the doubt. But.
No, and I think it's the bit where if you've been actively reckless in what you've done, or you've not been, and again, it comes back, sufficiently curious about what you do. If you
know better and you choose not to, then that's on you.
It is. And I think that there's a real danger at this moment in time that if people... with the ISO, like the ISO have changed the DSAR stuff earlier this year in terms of you can go back and ask people, you can assert things so people can have to be clear about what they want, and you can delay the process slightly if they're not engaged with the process to get that. That's absolutely fine. But similarly, I think they're going to push that obligation back onto employers as well. So I think they're going to go. They're going to go. Like we're going to work with you, but actually, there's going to be a point where saying like you've got to take more responsibility for what you're doing.
Step up.
Yeah.
So we've talked about using tools before controls are in place, having security, having frameworks, thinking about your policies, your education piece, how long you hold that data for, and looking at it. One of the other things, and this is really interesting. So when we talked about what we were going to discuss today, this hadn't come out yet.
No.
But an AI law firm won their first civil claim yesterday.
Yes.
Which is just...
bananas.
Yeah. And look, I think there's a lot of people threatened by this, but at the end of the day, we're talking about this is a particular AI firm that's limited to the small claims court which, to be honest, there's a lot of unrepresented people that could really do with a bit of help. And it's actually SRA regulated.
But I think the difference with that is, one, it's SRA regulated, so to get there, it's incredibly structured, and I would argue there's probably more of a decision tree in the background.
Absolutely.
Of that.
It's not going to be rogue.
No. And I think the danger that we've got with something like this is that it encourages people to think that actually if I use Claude, then actually I'll be able to...
a large language model is very different to engaging a specific AI law firm. Yeah.
And I think it's coming, and actually I would always say to people, it's like what I and we do is largely a process. It's the have you followed the process. The complexity comes in around sort of human and emotional reaction to things, and that's when people do daft things, and that's where it gets messy and all a bit woolly and not great that way. I think what we're seeing more and more is that people are leaning on to AI to help with kind of responses to grievances, and they are using it as their sort of legal advisor. I think the fact that we've got the firm that's won it, I think that's to your point, it will be in a very specific set of circumstances.
Very specific. This is not a case of all of a sudden AI is coming for all of our jobs and that kind of narrative. This is probably a really specific area where it will really benefit from a bit of supporting that process.
And I think the thing that we're seeing is that we can see when something's been put through AI and going, this is how I defend my position. Because if we don't write that letter in the linear structure that AI needs to kind of understand the data at this moment in time, and that will change, but you can see it all goes to pot. Like with, and if you have any sort of level of complexity amongst documentation and it's not referred to in the right way and there's something slightly off, it won't get it.
No.
And we've actually seen clients put our advice through AI and gone, well, what about this, what about this, what about this? And we know it's gone through AI because they've not taken the time to actually change the formatting.
The response is immediate.
It's like you get like a 4-page diatribe, and it's like, well, one, that you could never write that email in that time, and the second thing, it's all the M dashes and the
I mean, I feel targeted because I love an M dash, but so I now have to take them out where I would naturally use them because I don't want people to think I generated it.
No, because we were chatting to someone, it was a CFO. And he was like, I love an M dash. And I was like, oh no.
I love an M dash.
I said, no. I said,
it's become the hallmark.
That ship sailed now.
But what's really hard, so we've talked before about tribunal delays, right? But what we also have is, okay, AI is generating these huge grievances, and all of a sudden it's every little infringement in the history of this person's employment and not just the actual thing they're bothered about. But then they become more entrenched because what AI large language models are good at is reinforcing. They tell you what you want to hear. That's their job, is to be convincing in what they respond to you with. And so it is making people so entrenched in thinking that they've got a multi-million pound claim.
Yeah. And the thing is, that's always been there to a degree. And I would also, like, you have that, certainly from my world, you'd have that mate down the pub. So you deal with someone and they go, like, there's Terry down the pub. It'd be like, oh yeah, you can.
I love it when you get my friend's mum works in HR. And it's like, great.
Honestly, it's like, if you listen, I'll just kind of try to shoot myself. Because again, it's the amount of people we speak to, it's like, my mum works in HR, and it's like, yeah, I'm sure she does, but I'm sure she just processes the pension forms. But
do you also remember how you stole that thing out the till? So, good luck with that one. But
but I think this is the thing where, because of this, the people that are stupid enough to do the things that are wrong in the first place are stupid enough to believe.
It's the doubling down.
And it is. And it's, this isn't saying all people are stupid, because some people do some daft things and they're great people, but they've just made a mistake.
Yeah.
But I've always said over the years, I've been doing this 20 odd years now, and it's like the people that we generally get to dismiss, it's not a naive mistake.
No.
Very, very rarely is it a naive mistake. It is people that are actively being stupid or being reckless and not prepared to take responsibility for their own actions.
It's kind of why I love my job.
Sicko.
I think I would feel a lot more morally compromised if it was, this kind of big bad employer thing that you kind of get fed a lot of the time. But yeah, so it's, look, one of the other things I want to say about AI legal advice on the rise And it kind of comes back to some of the things we've said before. There was a really early case, I think it was in a BBC article, where basically someone who had blown the whistle, who needed protection, asked ChatGPT something and had it fed back to them that they were the perpetrator of wrongdoing in their own case because of how the information had been absorbed by the large language model and spat back out, being like, oh, we know this person's name, they are a bad person and they did all these awful things. So it's not a hypothetical risk.
Yes.
Is one of the things I wanted to add. But yeah.
No, and we'll take that case out and then put it in the notes for the show.
Oh, God, if I can't find it now.
I was going to say. there's a challenge.
I'm fairly sure I'll be able to find it. But,
yes.
Right, one of the things you mentioned at the start, AI-generated images. One of the things that I know, focusing on sexual harassment, we have more of an obligation to protect now than we did 2-3 years ago.
Yes.
There are extra employer responsibilities that now exist. And so you have to think about the fact that generative AI can be used to create offensive images of people or otherwise. And we're seeing that kind of, like you said, if you use a picture of someone and make them do something that they wouldn't have done normally, then that is a new way of creating harassing content for people.
I think it's the consent. It's the consent part is massive, and you'd want final approval from people if you do that. But I also think it sits alongside the sort of the general kind of trend for user generated content, as well. And then there's probably a wider IP question around that. So again, although people say, I gave my consent, that consent really kind of, if I'd said no, it was going to go out anyway.
Yeah.
So I felt no other option but to do that.
And consent has to be freely given and genuine and in the balance of power between the two individuals. Where you have an employer asking an individual, you're probably never really going to have meaningful consent in that way.
And I think in the desire to kind of stand out the noise on things, and whether it's kind of rage baity or kind of otherwise, I think there is a danger that those people that aren't the best people, who are more likely to be the people that don't do things in the right way, they're going to try and create content which actually makes them stand out from the crowd. Yeah. And probably for the wrong reasons as well.
But even on a more basic level, do your harassment policies use this as an example to just say you should not be using? Do you know the sorts of people who would go out of their way to do something? Or, I've written this funny little story where I've used 2 of the names of our colleagues and I've made them have an affair in this funny little story that I've written, which is something that I've had, it's come across my desk. So it's one of those things where it's like, make sure that your harassment policies deal with the fact that stuff created this way is potentially, harassment is regardless of intent, right? It's the purpose, it's the effect, it's the outcome.
But for me is that I think if you're getting into this kind of space, actually it's easy to demonstrate. Because you don't just accidentally create something. Yeah. So and again, the better the prompts, the more comprehensive.
Oh God, those prompts are going to be damning. I can't wait.
Yeah. So so actually, to a degree, this is the bit where if someone is creating sort of that harassment through kind of AI generated images, videos, anything like that, it has got to be. There's no defence in that situation, because again, you've not just hit your keyboard and then like a coffee cup's hit enter and it's created.
It's like, oh no, I fell and I wrote this as I went down.
Yeah. And then it's all of a sudden fallen onto an email or onto a WhatsApp chat and then been distributed to send all. You know what I mean? Yeah. That just doesn't work.
But as an employer, you can only run the statutory defence, i.e. this individual's behaviour is so outside of the realms of acceptable behaviour that they should be liable and we shouldn't, if you are training and you're actively anticipating.
But then this comes back to the conversation we had all the way through this, which is actually it's whitelisting things, you give access to certain teams on certain things. Yeah. Again, the marketing team have got to be really careful when they're testing stuff. And I get that kind of people will do stuff which they never intend to see the light of day, but they're trying to test things to do certain things. And have you heard about the thing about in software development? There's a thing called time to cock.
Right.
And it's about it's how quickly people within sort of games try and make a phallic thing.
Oh my God.
It's a genuine. I didn't know about this, but I think this is an issue. But this is a mentality issue that we're running into, because people will do these types of things. Yeah. And we've got perfectly respectable people within their jobs that will try and do things like this. And when they start playing with stuff like OpenAI, or they start playing with the banana one, which I forget the name of, they will do rude and inappropriate things.
Yeah.
And whether it's intended to go out into the world or not,
it exists.
Yeah. And we've got to make sure that people understand the impact of their actions. You can't stop people from doing things.
Yeah.
But what we can do is say to people, it's advised that you don't do that. If you want to do it at home, fine. You know what I mean? do what you want at home. You know what I mean? We're not here to judge.
I don't know if we're free and clear on that either. But basically, it's a respect thing, isn't it? It's a whether or not there is a necessarily employment or data protection legal reason not to. It's just generally a kind of like, just don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Right. One of the last things, the right to complain came in on the 19th of June.
Yes.
Which is under the Data Use and Access Act 2025, because I know you love a statute. I know you're sat here being like, that's actually my favourite statute, Rachel. I'm so glad you mentioned it. Yeah. It's got to be up there, right?
Sorry. I whited out for a second.
It happens. But right, so basically, individuals now have the right to complain to a data controller to say, I'm not happy with how you're processing data or processing my data, or you didn't do a DSAR right, or you're not asking for my consent when you're doing these things. And now employers or data controllers have 30 days to acknowledge.
Yeah.
They then need to investigate, and they need to respond without undue delay, is the kind of incredibly vague term. And this, to me, is the ICO saying, we are getting too much of this, you sort it out.
But I think the ICO have always been, for the past 2 or 3 years, if you speak to anyone, they'll say, if there's a complaint about the ICO, actually it's not that serious, because they've got such a backlog that they're only really interested.
Just don't care.
No, you've got to be really bad kind of responded to a DSAR.
But also, the Information Commissioner has just been, he's resigned, I think, pending the outcome of an investigation. I
think it was a mutual agreement at that point.
I think he was posting a lot of things on LinkedIn without the ICO signing it off. Anyway, they've got stuff they're dealing with at the minute internally. So, I'm not saying now is your time to get away with things, but they're clearly overburdened. They've got a lot on their plates. So the right to complaints come in. The main thing I am interested in about this, because it's a data process, make sure you have somewhere it can go. But complaints about how data is being processed can very easily become whistleblowing.
Yes, and I think the point within this, again, this comes through the care in terms of processing data and actually having the policies in place to say, because people will just get policies and data they don't read what's in their own sort of data processing policy, and actually the proper process. And again, this comes back to where you've got data, what tools you're using, where they're storing your data.
Yeah.
So again, it's that if you're saying you're doing everything within the EU, and actually it's going, you don't know where it's going in terms of to a global sort of server farm, then you're in breach of your own data policy at that point. Again, it's do you know it's going to China, Russia? There's no clarity about that. But again, it's the having the approved stuff, having the approved processes. This will be a massive issue, but I think it's going to take sort of 4 or 5 years to kind of work its way through. Yeah. In truth, because I think we've got to have the back and forth on things, and the ICO is incredibly slow at resolving things. But I agree with you; it's that this is like a ball that's just starting to move now. Yeah. And I agree on the whistleblower. Like the whistleblower one's going to be. I
think that's the main thing. Is that I'm not really worried about this from an enforcement perspective. I'm worried about it from who is owning what process, and do they know when to spot something that's come in through this that actually needs to be dealt with by a whistleblowing process.
But I don't think people understand whistleblowing at the best of times.
Maybe we're just asking for too much.
I think they get it from an accounting and from a health and safety point of view. So it's that, is the fraud, are people's lives at risk?
The big cover-ups.
Yeah. But in respect of what does it actually mean for whistleblowing in terms of data? Yeah.
And it's any breach of the law can count as whistleblowing. So that's the difficulty, is that's so broad.
Yeah. But then the other part of that as well, the law is effectively kind of what your policy is. Yeah. And if your policy then doesn't reflect what you do, then you're effectively in breach of the law at that point. So again,
Catch-22, find out what you're processing. But yeah.
And this is the bit where it's the sufficient, you've got to be interested in what you're doing. And it's now is probably a good time to kind of revisit things. There's a lot, and I think the changes, stuff like this will get missed.
Yeah, 100%.
And it will then turn into a bigger issue.
It's just going to be a mess. So try and do what you can to not let it be a mess.
It's going to be a hot mess.
Hot mess.
Hot mess.
Like us. Right, that was everything on my kind of tech pitfalls, HR problems, things we're seeing across desks. But yeah.
I think we're going to see things quite enough sort of in the next few months as well. I think we're going to hit that recess for Parliament in the summer. Although what I'm looking forward to is to see what Andy's approach to.
Come on, Andy.
Like we're not going to see a rollback on the employment
No,
rights
absolutely
Act.
not.
I think.
But there's a lot of consultations at the minute, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out of those.
And the other thing I've heard is he may roll back on employees' national insurance.
Oh.
Which I think would be a positive.
Which we've talked about a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think I would hope that there's some more kind of enablement of businesses with them. And I think that the general noise is that there would be, but it needs a manifesto to begin with.
Yeah.
Which is always a sticking point when you're in charge. But hey.
Brilliant. Well, that's been Not Another HR Podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. If you've got any questions, again, we do like them. We do like feedback. And if
Alastair has a need for praise.
Actually, huge amount of need. Like I said, if you need to get in contact with us, you can contact me at info@ezhr.uk or catch us at ezhr.uk. And we've updated the website, which I'm incredibly happy about.
Have you?
Yeah,
That's exciting.
I need to do some more images for it, but yeah, we've taken some nice photos of me and Tom.
I'll go and have a nosy.
Yeah.
And you can find me at horsehillmenzies.com. I'm Rachel Rigg. And yeah, thank you for joining us.
All the best.
See you next time.
Bye.
Welcome to Not Another HR Podcast.
You're joking. Not another one?